All right. What's going on, Michael? For everybody watching this video right now, Michael is my client success manager. He's been running a private gym for about 20 years himself. He's specialized in asymmetrical training, athletic performance, and anything related to sciatica and lower back pain. Now, today we're going to be talking about some frequently asked questions, and me and Michael, we're going to be breaking down what it actually means and how you can deal with this so you can fix your lower back long term. All right.
Hello, folks. For Americans, happy 4th of July.
All right, cool. So I think the first thing a lot of client ask now, how do we deal with, the up and down period when it comes to lower back pain? Whenever I got the flare up, what should I do? Should I follow the assessment? Should I follow the workout? What should I do specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I always have them do some type of quick assessment to see. I mean, a lot of the times too, if your flare up happens, we know, like, let's just say for IR purposes, say you measured somebody's right IR, and the right shoulder IR is 40 degrees, right? 40 degrees is kind of, it's very limited. So if we need 70, like we feel better at 70, if I just get you 70, it doesn't need to be 90, but if I can get you 70, usually that part you're out of pain. I mean, that's the small percentage that it will cause pain eventually. So I'll start with an assessment, get an idea of what's lacking at that point so that we know going forward, hey, if I don't have left IR on my hip, then something could go wrong. So it's kind of like troubleshooting exactly what's happening, right? Like that's what I like to try. Eventually, as time goes on, I try to teach them to sense their own. What are you doing? Are you sitting? Are sleeping? Is it when you wake up? Is it after work? Trying to figure out what is going on, where's the trigger coming from, and then the assessment for me is huge because that flare up usually comes up from a loss somewhere, right? It's going to be a loss of IR, ER of the hip or shoulder. So let's figure out what we need to really focus in on to stay healthy for a longer period of time. If that makes sense, Alvin.
Yep, 100%. So whenever I talk to my client, I always tell them, whenever you got a flare up, right, just do your assessment. Your assessment will tell you exactly what's happening, right? If you like a shoulder IR, hip IR, it doesn't really matter what that is. It give you a baseline to go off of. So instead of a try and error, trying different approach, different all kinds of different exercise just to make you feel better temporarily, we always go based on your assessment. All right. Once your assessment got better, your body's moving better. Once you're moving better consistently, your body's gonna feel better along the way as well, just naturally. Don't have to worry too much about it. All right, cool.
Agreed.
Now, the second question is, yeah, this one will be super interesting. Now, why we train our body asymmetrically? Why some of the exercise I only do on my left? Why some of the exercise I only do on my right side?
You want me to start? Oh man, we could
Oh
go
man.
25. You want
Yeah,
30
so
minutes spiel from me? I don't shut up sometimes.
yeah,
Listen,
so
we
yeah.
went down this path. We all come somewhere, right? We're asymmetrical to begin with, right? We have a liver on the right hand side, right? That liver is a big deal because that diaphragm can't descend as far. There's a lot of wide open space in the left hand side, right? You start to go into the left side of the brain and how it feels. It goes on and on. The heavier you cut us down the middle, we're heavier on the right hand side. Everything is pointing towards us going right no matter what. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that, asymmetry is good. I see it in running. You see it with high end sprinters. The problem is when you get too caught up in that, right? You get too caught up in that asymmetry, and then all of a sudden you can't. I don't know if I'm a little older than you, Alvin, but my mom used to say when we made a goofy face, like, if you stay like that too long, somebody's going to smack you in the back of the head, and you're going to stay like that forever, right? And it's kind of it rings to be true because look, if I'm in my right hand side and I see it with my daughter, I see it with myself, I'm a very right dominant human being, and that's just always how it will be for me. And it made me fast. It made me do things differently because of that. But I also got caught up in that side and I couldn't get out of that side. And that's where everything starts, right? So as soon as I can't get out of the right side and move, remember, we're moving through the world here, right? You have two legs, you got to be able to you got to be able to get from one side and move to the other side, get in and out of that side, back to the right side. That's moving through life. If you don't have that ability, well, something has to take the haircut. That's where the knees and the lower back. The lower back is easy. So the body what'll happen is now the pelvis will orient forward to get into your left side. It's basically you're compensating. Every compensation comes from us not being able to get in and out of one side. So being able to train in one side now, right? We already know how to train. For me, let's just go on me as an example. I know how to get into my right side and I know how to push out of my left side. What I'm not very good at is getting into my left side and pushing out of my right side. Right. So for me, that's why I would train left all the time. There's no reason to train right because if I train right, I'm just going back to the pattern. So I'm automatically going to go into my right hand side. What I'm definitely automatically not going to do is go to my left side. So therefore, I train my left side to be able to be competent enough to not be overruled by my right side. Sorry.
100%. Yeah. And also that's one thing I want to add on to it is now when you have a lower back pain and you go to physio, chiro, massage therapy, it doesn't really matter what that is, right? You treat both everybody the same way. But we're asymmetrical in natures. And when you treat both everybody the same way, guess what? You're still imbalanced. Now, for a lot of clients, you don't need to try to learn push out of their right side. I mean, they don't have to learn how to push out of their left, right? They only need to learn how to push out of their right side. But once you come to physio, you do some core training, strength training, right? You're trying to do both everybody the same way. And over a long period of time, maybe you get a little bit stronger, but guess what? You're still imbalanced and you didn't repattern your body how to move correctly. So that's why the relief won't last long. And that actually bring up to my next questions. A lot of client asks, what will be the difference between exercise we're doing versus all the exercise, they're trying with their physio or massage or chiropractor?
You want that from me?
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
get myself in trouble here, Alvin. Well, let's take PT, right? Have you been in PT? I went to PT once,
Yeah.
and they're great. I mean, they're there to help, But here's the problem: say I need to get out of my right side. My right hip is a problem, right? So I needed glute med, back posterior fibers of glute med. I needed glute max to get out of there, right? I don't have those muscles. They wanted me to train those muscles. The problem is my pelvis was still forward, so there was no leverage. My glute max and those posterior glute med fibers were long. They weren't used to being contracted, so therefore there's not any neurological sense to turn them on. And I don't have leverage because it's long in the back because my pelvis is going forward. So what we do is we get that pressure between the pelvis and the thorax to make sure that we are neutral first, right? Because when we are neutral, we know that the lines of pull of both sides of the hip are now going to be ready to be turned on and used, right? So that's where I think some of those things don't work because the pelvis needs to be neutralized before you go after the glute max. Sure, we do have to go. I had to get after my glute max, but I just couldn't turn it on. And if I was trying to turn it on, a lot of times too, when you try to do it, and you don't have any sense to do that with. You're just starting to arch. You're going into that pattern even more. You're using compensatory muscles when you're trying to get the muscle. That the reason why that you're in those compensation muscles is because you can't get that muscle to turn on from the first place. So equalizing that pressure gets you back to neutral. Getting back to neutral, then we are able to then open up those areas that we weren't able to turn on for the longest period of time.
Yeah. 100%. You got to make sure your body is neutral first, and then we can train your body to shift from side to side properly. Now, if your body is not neutral, it doesn't really matter how many time or how like intense the training portion will be. Physiotherapy rehab program, right? You can't use them properly. So even though you feel like you're using it, but you're not using it genuinely, right? You're just pushing through compensations. All right. And the next question is from Alana McLean. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah. Why would you need to train your upper body rotation and the lower body rotation and sometimes foot all together just to fix lower back pain?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for
So
me,
I think the question is now when they have lower back pain, right? Why not just
Mhm.
train back alone and you have to train upper body, lower body, and feet all together, and also breathing too.
Yep. Pelvis trunk, remember pressure between them. So one doesn't go without the other. It's like a sandwich. That sandwich has to be parallel so that the fluids and the all of that stuff in between it, that pressure dictates everything. Right. So say we're in an anterior, say we're just blown forward. All of our solid, everything is forward. That's why you're seeing, I think, hernias too. Lower back is crunched, the middle back's crunched, the upper back's crunched, and all of a sudden you're kind of just blowing out the front part of your body. Right. We got to be able to get the solids, all that pressure to come back again. And what do you need to do that? Right. I need my rib cage to do certain thing. I need my pelvis to do a certain thing. Both those diaphragms have to line up to manage that pressure. So pressure first, right? And I think that's where I think people go wrong too, is I don't think they take that into consideration. They think, let's go after the muscle when you have to go after the pressure. The pressure between your rib cage and your pelvis is going to dictate where your bones are. Where your bones are going to dictate what your muscle position is, right? So you have to deal with the pressure to change the bones, which then therefore will change the muscles.
100%. So kind of just breaking down a little bit more. So what would be the first thing to target? Because when people have lower back pain, they target muscle right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we target a bone. But when you target a bone, that's not good enough yet. You have to target the pressure first. So just kind of break it down a little bit more for other people.
First step pressure, right? First steps pressure. Then we're going to now turn on the things that we weren't able to turn on. The leverages now help us. We're neutral, right? And then we need to attach that to walking. And I think that's where you're getting at, right? The foot, big ball, inner heel, internal, the outside heel, external. Right now, I got to be able to take that functionally through life, right? Because life happens more than resets happen. Resets happen once or twice a day. Life and walking and sitting and whatever you do, whatever you're sleeping. I mean, how many people say, I know I divert off. You got to keep me centered, man. You got to keep me centered. But all of these things now have to become the pattern, right? We're changing the pattern. Now the pattern has to be through the foot. The foot's the first thing that hits the ground. So I now need to make sure that the foot, every time it hits the ground, does a certain thing and it goes up the kinetic chain. And everyday life becomes the new pattern. Does that make sense? Pressure first, turn on things that need to turn on, and then make sure we can go through daily life doing the same thing that we do in the resets, right?
Yeah.
Rotate back and forth, get in from one hip, get out of that hip into the other hip, out of that hip back into the other hip. We got to be able to rotate back and forth through the world.
Yeah, 100%. Now, is there anything else you want to add? I'm trying to find other questions here.
I can talk all day long, man. You know me.
What are
No,
some
I mean,
cool
let's you want
questions
to
you
even
have?
go crazier. Let's go back to the origin, right? Where's pressure dictated from? Breathing,
Yeah,
right? Rib cage has to come down, close off certain areas, right? So that we don't get air in. Air is going to go to the path of least resistance. So if you're in your right hand side, right, your liver's still on your right hand side as well, too. So there's not a lot of area for us to get stuff into our right side of our body. So where's it going to go? It's going to go to the left abs or obliques. So that's why we try to get left obliques so much. That's why it's such a big muscle. Or in that matter, for most people that breathe through their six pack abs, right? They don't know how to breathe through those obliques. So getting that oblique to close now closes off air where it usually goes. And then guess what? I'm compressed somewhere else. I can then just filter it into those areas, right? We got to be able to fill those areas up. You can stretch your right pec all day long, but until you're able to blow it up like a balloon over and over and over through breathing, again, walking, how many steps a day do you walk? How many hours a day do you sleep? How many times do you breathe a day? So that pattern has to go into breathing because that's what's pumping the areas that are compressed up over and over. So it's a stretch, right? Your breath is a stretch. You're stretching now how many times a day through breath? So being able to close it off in certain areas, open it off in other areas is just basically neurally repatterning the body to stretch itself over and over through time.
yeah, 100%. And just give people like a really like 10,000-foot overview here. Breathing will change what, and then change what, and then change what, and then finally change what.
Breathing done right will number one get you out of fight or flight, which allows us to change our pattern, right? We can't change a pattern in fight or flight. We have to be in parasympathetic, number one. So no matter what we do, we can't get out of it. Doesn't matter, right? That again, it's
100%.
imperative. Breathing is imperative because we can't get out of fight or flight. Our body will not feel comfortable enough to make a change. But even more important, it's going to line our diaphragms up, right? Our pelvic and our thoracic, all our diaphragms are going to line up. That pressure is going to line up. Our body, our bones are going to become neutral through that breathing. Can I get my side abs down? Can I get my pelvis underneath me, or whatever your pattern dictates? Right? Everybody goes a certain way. The top and the bottom of the sandwich. Those top and the bottom of the sandwich need to line up for the meat to stay inside the sandwich. right? But if you're squishing the sandwich one side or to the other side, all the meat's going to go there. That's the fluids, that's the pressure we're talking about. We got to align it, make sure it's a nice, pretty sandwich, right, Alvin? You like sandwich hoagies? We call them hoagies here in New Jersey. I don't know what you call
That's a really good analogy, man. Really good
them.
analogy.
You
Never
like
thought
that?
about
You like the
it. Yeah.
sandwich?
Oh yeah.
Parallel sandwich, parallel lines.
All right. And then once you get a parallel line, what would you want to do next?
Then once I get neutral, right? That's what neutral is
Yeah.
then I got to figure out which way you like to go and which way you don't like to go. And I got to make you go more the way you don't like to go. If that makes
100%.
sense.
Yeah.
Right. So but
100%.
I got to get those muscles right. For say, it's easy to say, hey, I just got to get into my left side. There are muscles that haven't been used. You got a left oblique, you got a hamstring, you got an adductor, you got these muscles have to turn on for that pelvis or that ilium bone to move enough so that the bones in the femur, the feet all can line up and do what they need to do. So it sounds easy, but remember when you're and that's the crazy part about all these resets. I put them in a position that they're not comfortable with. What are they going to go into? Fight or flight. You got to
100%.
own it. Right. And I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, like, listen, this is life. You're going to go through really hard situations. How do you handle those situations? Right. Breathe through it. Right. At first, it's overwhelming, but then, hey, inhale, big, long sighing exhale. You forget about how hard it is, and you're okay. Let me get back to that parasympathetic way. So that breathing now comes back to, okay, I can breathe in this position and it calms me down. Oh, I'm calmer. Okay, this doesn't feel so bad. And that's how the pattern changes.
100%. So the breathing will change your parasympathetic nervous system, right? And then it will release the pressures, get you to a more neutral stage where your pelvis and your ribcage are aligned with one another. And then we can start turning your body from side to side, right? Get you out of right hand side, get you out of left hand side. Doesn't really matter what that is, depends on your situations. And then we're gonna be targeting more like strength training the muscle around that part. So if you have lower back pain and you start targeting the pain, like the muscle right away, there are a lot more layer to it. You gotta make sure your nervous system is right, the breathing is right, your body's neutral, your bones are in the right position, and then you can start targeting the muscles.
Guess how we do it, right? We give you
Right?
more constraints right off the bat, right? Put you on the ground, put you on a wall, right? And then as time goes on, guess what we do? We stand you up and we let you walk on your own, right? With this new pattern, and we got to be able to attach that to this new pattern. I think a lot of people don't understand the way the muscles are lined up or for rotation. The pec, for instance, if you don't rotate in on your pec, you're done. You're moving to your shoulder, right? So it's the pecs, the lats, they are rotation. We're built that way for rotation to happen, right? The body has to go through external, internal, external every step, everything you do. So you can't bypass any of those. If you have no IR, again, something has to take the haircut there. So you got to make sure that you have adequate IR, ER. And here's the other thing too. Some of us are built for more IR, right? Your big power lifters, they're more IR oriented, right? Some more of your marathon runners, they're built for more ER stuff, right? And it's not saying one side is good and one side is bad. You need both. It's the yin and the yang. You have to have both. And a lot of the
Yeah,
times we don't. And that causes the problems that we have. And I think you would know as much as I do. That's what stuck you to this system because you realize that is it. That's the system, right? I mean, we're in the infancy of this thing, man. We're about 30 years, 25 years, 30 years from using Arnold Schwarzenegger's encyclopedia that he wrote, right? I don't think
yeah,
people understand that. They think that this thing is well built. We're in the infancy stage of this. We're just learning and now we're growing at a rate, I mean, if you look at how you strength train now, and this is an important part, right? I can do my magic. You can do all your magic. The client can do all of that hard work. And then you go inside of a rack and lose it all within seconds, right? Get you
100%.
I get you 70 degrees of IR that you haven't seen in years or decades. And then you go in and bench press, like with your ego, right?
Exactly.
You come back out, guess where you're at? 45 degrees. And you know what 45 degrees means? More chance of you getting hurt because you lost 25 degrees of space that now you got to find somebody else to take that on. right? Somebody else got to take that haircut. And that's why going back, like 70 degrees is very important because now you ran out of space and now the lower back, the knee, the elbow, the shoulder, all these things have to take that haircut. And when they have to take it too much of a haircut, that's when strains, that's when bad things happen. That's when, you know, the femur now, it's starting to jam until you get a labral tear, right? And when we all walk around with labral tears because we walk around with these patterns for most of our life. Don't get me going, Alvin.
100%, man. 100%.
You know, I love this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, I love to talk about this stuff all day long, but I think the time,
Yeah.
and we can talk more in the next times. All right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I love
Awesome,
it.
man. Awesome.
All right.
I'm glad we got to do this. I like doing this too. Let's do this more often.
All right.
Let's do it
Cool.
all the time. I like
Yeah.
it.
100%. Cool. So that should be it for today's call, and I'll talk to you later. All right.
All
Take
right.
care.
Now, see you, buddy.